Hey, good morning, beautiful people. 7:08 a.m. Friday. Pardon me. Morning. It's the first time I've spoken, other than very briefly, this sunny, pleasant 7 degrees Celsius. And we're off to work on a day that's usually my day off, so it feels very strange. I kind of need that day off. But anyway, I'll be working it. Just remind me, I've got to get petrol. I've got to get it on the way in, then on the way out. I forgot to do that. See, that's my whole routine is thrown. Getting fuel is on my day off thing. That's what I would be doing today. My OCD. Look at little crow, raven. We don't have crows in Tassie, some with ravens. Just going live because I really wanted to go live last night and discuss the grand jury indictment of Bryan Kohberger, but I don't know what's going on. Tassie in winter is just going off. These people that I love and haven't seen for ages, like many pre-COVID, are descending on this island, and I choose to catch up with all of them. I've missed so many faces. Sonia, I wasn't able to go live last night because I was catching up with a friend who I haven't seen since. I mean, we've FaceTimed and stuff, but I haven't seen him since like 2019. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I need to have a rant this morning. I really don't mind if I rant alone. I wanted to discuss the grand jury indictment. We don't have them in Australia. We have a committal hearing, which is kind of the same thing as the preliminary hearing. We don't actually have this grand jury thing. But already, the media outlets, I'm using media very loosely. The Ashley Banfields of the world are inserting words into their reporting like secret, behind the scenes. The defense team were blindsided in 10 minutes or 5 actually, of just listening to a couple of lawyers talking about grand juries. The chances of the defense team not knowing about it in a town like Moscow, Idaho, or in Latah County is virtually impossible. But what really annoyed me too, I mean, I stupidly bounced around a bit because I just wanted to see how the news has been received. And as usual, the sleuth channels that stir up more speculation are hard at it, and they're playing people like Ashley Banfield, who is the greatest spoon feeder of the sleuths imaginable. And the irony wasn't lost on me when on one channel I heard Banfield saying, I wonder if the grand jury strategy was because of media attention and, were witnesses at risk of being approached in real life and hassled by online sleuths. Oh, what, you're playing all, innocent now and you're thinking, I'm going to look good because I've come up with this theory? You feed the sleuths. You're a huge part of the problem, lady. And I bloody well hope that's why they did it. Because you've got the bullhorn Bettys of the world who are threatening to be out there in June for the preliminary hearing. And we know what people like that are capable of doing. And when surviving housemates would have potentially been called, not guaranteed, but might have been called. After we saw how JLR screamed at the surviving Murdoch kid outside of court. But the other thing is, as usual, hundreds and hundreds of people rolling into these inverted commas true crime channels. I was just listening to one really important information about how to educate the general public, essentially, on what a grand jury is. It was a lawyer who easier for them to just play a story. And then you've got 800 people watching them going, I agree. You people are fucking insane. But anyway, she's talking over the top of the one bit of information that I thought was critical to the discussion she was allegedly having with her community. Took right over the top of it, squealed with delight because somebody had walked into her chat she was happy to see, and rather than pause the clip and actually listen and learn something from someone who knows what they're fucking talking about. And the reason I'm so riled up about it is because I wanted to hear it. I didn't want to hear her screaming to a little fucking subscriber. I was like, oh, cool, this guy's about to explain everything. I hope everyone's paying attention. And over the top of it, she went, and it's like, really? That was the critical bit of information that your subscribers needed to hear. And I'm sorry, but anyone who rolls into these alleged true crime channels and the creators sitting up there going, I just don't know. I mean, I think it means this. And yeah, it's just, I'm so upset that they're not having the preliminary hearing because I wanted to know all about the preliminary hearing. Don't listen to them. Go to a channel where someone is like, I don't actually know what the grand jury stuff means, but I've got this expert lawyer who's going to explain it all to us. Please, everybody, just pay attention. I'm going to just let you to explain it, Reginald, so we can all learn how this works. They're the channels you watch. Or the news stations. Then I reckon this grand indictment has just multiplied by 100 the number of sleuths who think there's more to the story and Kohberger's innocent. And oh my God, people, educate yourselves on what a grand jury indictment means, for fuck's sake. I stupidly glanced at chat because I just wanted to see if anyone was saying to her, can you stop talking over the top of the people in the clips, and could you replay that because we didn't get to hear that bit? No one gave a flying fuck. They're all in the chat going, there's more to this. How are you more qualified than a fucking grand jury who has all of the evidence in front of them, not to mention that gazillion amount of terabytes that they've got to go through as well? Not that the grand jury needs to, but the tendered evidence. Why are you people in your living rooms, many of whom haven't worked a fucking day in your life, bigger authorities on what this means than experts and lawyers and judges and anyone that's connected to working in the legal profession? And I'm not including myself in this mix. Like I said, grand jury indictments are not a thing here. But oh my God. So we won't be covering the preliminary hearing, to be honest. I'm kind of relieved because I reckon it would have been an absolute fucking shit show. Especially if the likes of Bullhorn Betty and JLR had been heckling out the front of the court, which is all they would have done. I don't think my nerves can handle another Bullhorn Betty outside a courtroom just for a while, or JLR. There's a hearing on Monday, which once I've had an opportunity when I get home tonight or on the weekend to go live and go into more detail about the legal side of things, to me sounds like it may be an arraignment, in which case it's most likely he's going to plead not guilty, because my theory from the start with Kohberger is that it's not just the crime and getting caught, it's the whole process that he's into, if he is indeed the perpetrator. And a guilty plea, I would say, is highly unlikely, because remember what he said at the start when he was caught? I look forward to being vindicated, hearing my name. Hey, Joman. I'm just having my early morning drive rant. Dude, how are you? It's only 5 degrees Celsius too, like. She's fresh. And I've got to stop and get petrol. Because I've been working on Friday, which I don't usually do. I mean, I do one every other week, but I probably have got enough petrol to get me to town, but I like leaving work and just heading straight home. You don't know? What? You don't know what? It just surprises me, I guess, that I understand the true crime fascination. Mine was so massive I became a criminal lawyer, for God's sake. Like, I get it. But there's no other expert profession that has members of the public so passionately heckling them while they do their jobs. Like, I always go back to the analogy of, imagine, if there was a true medicine or true operation community of online people who watched operations and berated the surgeons for not performing surgery properly. Oh, how are you? Don't know. Oh, well, that's kind of an interesting state of mind to be in. I know that state of mind. It's kind of refreshing, I find. You don't always have to have the words, It's like a very wise friend of mine who taught me years ago that, quite profoundly, that not having an answer sometimes is the answer, or the right answer at the time. And it's so true. When you're in that state of I don't know, it's a different state of I don't know to yours, but sometimes not having the answer is actually the answer. So, yeah. Look at us being profound together at 7:20 in the morning. Goat hair, 33. That's interesting info. Thanks, Gruber. I didn't say they were presented with all the evidence. I did mention very briefly the terabytes that they still need to go through. And the one thing I did learn this morning, because I'm still learning about the grand jury stuff, but that's really interesting, 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 votes to in. No, Jamin, please do. I can't be in rant mode when I get to the office. My clients be like, you're a bit ranty today. Why is that? Oh, just frustrated by online sleuths. Don't mind me. Let's talk about your problem. Here we go. Let's fix it. That's That's really interesting, Guido. Thank you. But yeah, I heard too that uh, after a grand jury indictment, and you can correct me if I misheard this, but I'm pretty sure it came out of the mouth of a lawyer in America, not a lawyer like me in Tasmania where we don't have grand juries. Um, that a trial is usually, after a grand jury indictment, is required to be listed within 6 months, but it rarely happens, especially when you've got a case like this with mountains of evidence, all the terabytes to go through. And then the judge can essentially, I mean, the word we use here is adjourn, or the judge, I think the lawyer was saying, can essentially adjourn the, or relist or whatever the trial date because of just cause. Like it's a valid reason to postpone commencement of the trial because the parties still have to go through all of the evidence. Look at that sky, guys. It's only 5 degrees, but I still love these brisk, fresh mornings. Makes you feel very alive when you first walk out of your house and all the pores on your face open up. They're like, wing, good morning. Just going to grab some petrol up here. Some gas. We buy petrol by the litre here, not the gallon. So I'll give you the price. The litres that I looked at the other day, it was $1.72 a litre. And a quart is 4 litres, right? Is that kind of on a par with what you guys pay? I find nearly everything that we pay is, Australia is just so fucking expensive, it's ridiculous. Especially on this island, like our salaries aren't commensurate with the mainland salaries, but our cost of living is higher because we're a little island. It's very expensive little island. That's why I drive a car that doesn't use a lot of petrol. Alrighty. Just go and get the fuel. So regular, which I'm getting. They've only got diesel and 100. Oh, sorry, $1.83. Oh, it's only $1.84 per litre. I'll be back, groovers. Keep each other company. Okay, looks like Joman's holding the fort. Oh, you didn't keep chatting to each other. Well, that's a tragedy. Okay, fueling. Let's go. I wanted to hear more from Goat Hair. Goat Hair 33. Might have to get you, well, I was going to say jump up on my panel, but I'm not doing a panel now, obviously. But, I mean, being a Capricorn, I already think you're fabulous because, you know, goats. I don't actually eat goat. I think it's cannibalism. I'm kidding, but it kind of is. So yeah, I kind of forgot what I had to say off my chest. I don't think there was anything else I wanted to say. I just, as always, I'm so amazed that people, like, I'm all for learning and listening and, you know, listening to people's experiences and finding facts out and researching and, yeah, just learning stuff, challenging your mind. And but I think to just be reporting on something and be going, "Oh, I don't know, I think there's more to it," but not saying why or what evidence points you in that way of thinking or that direction of thinking. And everyone else in the chat sort of buys into that. And then you play somebody like Banfield who had the gall to say that, and the only reason I'm saying gall, because it could well be the reason, but the gall to say that the whole point of the grand jury was to avoid all this sort of media, especially online social media, sleuthing, speculation and harassment of witnesses and so on, where she has been feeding that exact community into this frenzy in the first place. Her coverage of the Idaho 4 murders has been sensationalistic, and all it's done is stir up a frenzy in the sleuth community where they are just wanting more information, apparently, but then ignoring it. Or, you know, playing a lawyer on their channel who's explaining the whole, didn't go into the detail that Goathair just did, but point of the grand jury and why that potentially was chosen, and then talks over the top of it and acknowledges people arriving in chat and the thank you for my super chats and all that sort of shit, when the actual information that you would think an inquisitive human being would be waiting to hear is actually being presented. No one got to hear it. And then they're all asking questions about the grand jury part of this process, and they would literally just been given the answers on the screen by the dude that the host just completely talked over the top of. And so they're none the wiser. And then the creators sitting there going, yeah, I just think there's more to it. And everyone in chat's like, yeah, there is. Well, I mean, there is. They've already indicated there's way more to it. But in terms of, do they think they've got the right man? Fucking oath they do. He's innocent until proven guilty, but all these sleuths going, they haven't got the right man. Well, based on what are you saying that? Like, I'm happy to listen to why you think that, but don't just say that as a blank statement and then don't back it up. Miss K, hello. Like, give me your argument. Present your case. I'm listening. But if all you've got is, I think, and then something following those two words, and you don't have any sort of structured argument to explain why you feel that way, I'm not listening to you anymore. I'd rather go live and ask YouTube a question and have people like Goat Hair pop in and tell me a bit more about how the grand jury works. That's the shit I want to know. How are you, Miss Kay? Have you got a busy Friday ahead of you? So glad I went and got petrol. I don't have to worry about that when I finish work. Because I mean, I love autumn and I love it going into winter and it getting colder. But a big part of that love is getting home and making the house all cozy and not having to do any errands. Like if there's any errands I need to do, I'll pop out in my lunch break and do them. So I can just finish work and jump in my car and head home, get cozy, or rug up and light a fire pot and have some friends over and just sit around the fire pot. I love it. Love, love, love it. Dusting off beanies is a favourite part of the year for me. When you start to go, yep, it's time to get those beanies happening. I love it. Most people don't, but I do. Yeah, but don't forget, guys, in terms of reading comments, and I can glance and see something about caps and stuff, but this part of the drive, I can't read chat anyway. When we get down off the hill, if the traffic's crawling, I can glance, and that's where the capitals are really handy. But I think you said a similar comment to me, Miss Kay, that, yeah, like, I'm open to theories and even fact-based speculation. And sometimes when you are speculating with facts, there is that sort of tiny percentage where you kind of go, well, what is the most logical conclusion I can draw from these facts? Like have a listen to the Chris Dawson judgment last year. The judge explains it way more coherently and using much better language than I am right now. But when you're presented with facts, then a lot of facts, damning facts. The judge writes about how when there are little gaps in things, you've got to put it all together and go, which is the most likely scenario? I mean, in that particular judgment, there was no other conclusion. The amount of evidence they had, there was no other conclusion that could be drawn. But I've noticed in Australia a lot of the time when there's no body, even though we've had mountains of convictions in the absence of a body, the judges are they have to be so much more meticulous in their judgment and provide why the evidence as it stands is enough to convict without knowing where beautiful Lynette Dawson's body is. A little bit like probable cause, right? This is the evidence we're showing that gives us reason to believe we have probable cause to judge this guy. There's a process of logic using that evidence and information that you've got. But these little sleuths that are like, oh, there's more to the story, I'm sure of it. Well, tell us why you're sure of it. I want to know. And I'm going to open my ears and listen. I'm going to listen to hear, not listen to just respond or debate. I want to listen to hear. And I can play devil's avocado. The one thing you learn as a lawyer, and it really is two things. Well, three, really, I guess. I mean, you learn, obviously, the history of the legislative process, which includes legislation and case law. Like, bundle that all together. You learn researching skills, although these days it's, called Google. But back in the day, spending hours on an amazing rabbit warren adventure in the bowels of the law library with big old leather volumes and reading a judgment and then citing another judgment, and you go and find that. Oh my God, I loved it. you'd have all these big, heavy books piled up on the table, and you'd sort of look at the clock and go, "Oh my God, I haven't actually stretched my leg or had any fresh air for 9 hours straight." And then you'd pop over the road because there was a pub and a couple of amazing uni student priced cafes, and grab some food and reload and recharge, and then back over the road you'd go and get back into it. That's the other thing we learned. But the most important thing that you learn as a lawyer is they just train you to think differently than most of us think, the way we think when we're younger, which is all about us. Law teaches you to be a critical thinker. It teaches you to look at every side of the story, not just two sides, all the sides. That's basically what law degrees are. It's just reprogramming thinking in any scenario, and it filters out into your life very quickly too, and probably to the irritation of some of my friends at times. Not that they've ever said it. I'm not one of those people that will just spark up a debate because I fucking feel like sparking up a debate. But sometimes being devil's avocado when a friend is asking for advice isn't always welcomed. But I feel it's important that all sides of the story are considered. Hey, wake the truck up, America. Hello. But yeah, why isn't there like a true surgery community where they broadcast operations live, like they stream them on these platforms, and online sleuths can all tune in and heckle the fuck out of the surgeons and the nurses and everyone in the anaesthetist, everyone in the room, and point out that they're not doing things properly, like, because that's basically what this true crime, inverted commas, also known as the death vultures and the sleuths community is. They know better. And I really wanted to, I read a really good article last night, like it was a law journal article from the States about Kohberger's grand jury indictment, and it's very detailed, and I really want to go through it with everyone who's interested. The nerdy lawyer in me loves that kind of shit, and it's a rabbit warren article. There's lots of different cases that we can look at and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, but I did think that if some of these channels, I bounced around about 14, I think. Oh my God, the start of Grey Hughes is one yesterday. I haven't listened to Grey for such a long time. Debate is healthy. True grime. Yep. True slime. But yeah, if you want to laugh, Gray's so grumpy he's always been grumpy and arrogant. But he's so grumpy at the start, and I fucking love it. He's a little bit more brutal than I am. He's way more brutal than I am. I'm not brutal at all. Well, I might be a tiny bit, but I'm just irritated by this shift in the way people consume true crime. Like, I wanted to go back to the olden days when Web Sleuths, the website, was really the only place you could go, or some forums, to discuss cases. And if you veered off the facts, you got kicked out. And I loved it because the discussions were so fascinating and quality, and then there'd be verified lawyers and doctors and forensic scientists and all sorts of really interesting crime-related professionals in this community as well, who would bring their knowledge and understanding and information to the table, and it was so interesting. and everybody learned so much. And then you'd watch, a trial happening in America, because we don't televise trials in Australia, but the very opinions that had been expressed in these forums by verified experts matched what was being saying in court. And it was like, you felt like you'd been taught by the best, because they got it right. And if they didn't get it right, then there'd be discussions about what was going on, and then it might lead to discussions about whether or not a witness was credible, or whether that verified expert in the forum wasn't aware of a particular procedure when they were told, or it might have been a lawyer saying, that particular decision hadn't been handed down at the time I wrote that. And it was just this sort of community of people with a thirst for knowledge. But now it's a community of people with a thirst for foul play and gore and speculation and bullshit. Hey, Kim Heffernan. And I'm sorry, but these middle-aged housewives are sitting up there squealing with excitement because one of their subscribers has arrived, and you don't get to actually hear the expert that's being played in the news clip that they're showing, who's giving the information that I wanted to hear. And their chat didn't seem to give a fuck. I was expecting someone in that chat to say, could you please replay that bit because it was really interesting, or I really wanted to hear what that guy was explaining. But nobody cares. And she didn't squeal once over Ashley Banfield, but she squealed over a lawyer who was explaining what a grand jury indictment essentially means, and why it's probably happened in this particular case, and what it means in terms of the hearing on Monday and the trial date and all of that sort of stuff. Didn't hear any of it, or very little of it. Kind of heard the basics bit at the start, which was like, this is really good because I'm learning how all this works. But when it got to the nitty-gritty, specifically regarding Kohberger, the creators squealed with excitement because, I don't know, somebody with a name like Twinkle Toes McPhee arrived, and then nobody could fucking hear a thing this lawyer said, like the gritty stuff. So I jumped over to another one, same sort of stuff happening. But yeah, if you want to laugh, listen to Grey Hughes. When he did a live on it yesterday, talking about the probable cause affidavit and how if he was a juror, he would convict based on the affidavit, which was kind of interesting because I was listening to him as I was getting ready for bed, and not in that kind of, oh, grey baby kind of way. Like, I just had him on because it's a pretty big story. But the thing is, as a former defence lawyer, I also know how I would rip that probable cause affidavit to shreds. As it is, as a standalone document. But it is not even remotely close to the totality of the evidence and information that both the prosecution and the defence have. Tis but the tip of the iceberg. And from what Goathair mentioned in chat earlier, and they didn't come back, which was disappointing to me because I love it when someone comes in and just dumps info and then just says nothing else. It's like, where'd you go? Come back. You actually have things to say that are relevant to this conversation, and it'd be really good for us all to learn it and hear what you've got to say. Oh, but then they're just gone. Maybe they're just one of those bouncing trolls that, not trolls in terms of bad. Like, I love trolls. You guys know that. Hi, Emily. Gray's got it all mapped out. Oh, my God, how grumpy has that man got, though? I know you love him to bits. I miss, when I used to listen to him, I used to love him going, Emily Flotilla. Like, I'll be doing the house, I'll be like, oh, Em's in there. Em flotilla. Who's the one in his chat too that he always says her name, and she's got like a German-sounding surname. Well, she used to be in his chat. Catherine Heisenberg. It wasn't that, but yeah, I mean, I still, as putting on my little former defence lawyer hat, I could, on the probable cause affidavit alone, like, yes, I know it is but a mere speck of the information out there, but if that was it, right? If that affidavit was the totality, there's a heap of stuff in there that you could happily explain away. But I'm smart enough to know there's enough information and evidence that we aren't aware of that would completely debunk all of those attempts at explaining away, without a doubt. But I could still, if that was the totality of it, we could have a conversation about whether or not the guy's going to get acquitted. But just the fact that probable cause affidavit was presented and now grand jury indictments occurred, it's really not worth discussing the likelihood of an acquittal at the moment. But Gray is incredibly blunt about it, and I found him quite entertaining. But my God, he was so he's so grumpy. There was somebody that must have said something in the chat and it set him off, and he was... He's like next level. He's never tolerated fools, and I admire that. But whoever it was who came into his chat and said something, wow. Brutal. But fabulous to listen to. Not necessarily great to be on the receiving end of, but fucking hilarious to watch or listen to. I didn't see the comment. I mean, he kind of gave enough information in his response for me to get an idea of what the person had said, but even so, I was actually falling asleep to him. I do find that sort of background music he plays, I'd forgotten. It does lull you off into a slumber. I'll put my makeup on in a minute. I want to see what you guys are chatting about first. Because he does that thing now, doesn't he? That you guys can basically donate money to the charity, and he ends up being behind bars. And then he also asks everyone to donate money to the charity to bail him out, right? All right. Oh. The needle has absolutely shifted. It seems to be all about the drama and speculation these days, not the curiosity of what drives. Yeah, I know. Agree, 100% wake the track up. And look, I mean, I'm not this serious Puritan either. I just want you guys to know that when we have a case like, it was, don't get me wrong, it was fucking awful. But the trial of Daryl Brooks, which Wake the Truck Up has followed in intricate detail, like, it's okay to have cases like that where everyone just goes, what the fuck, and has a good laugh too, you know, like, not at the actual crimes that he committed, but just him representing himself. And there was a trial when I was a judge's associate. I was a Supreme Court judge's associate. I'm not doing a bullhorn Betty. I really was. You can Google him. He existed. Justice Robert Moore, MOHR, South Australia. Anywho, he had a very criminal top-heavy list, which suited me because I wanted to be a criminal lawyer. Most of the judges, they sort of tried to give them a variety of cases, you know, from across the board, so crim and civil, so on, civil and appeals and everything else. But my judge was very top-heavy crim, so things could be quite bleak, you know, like, fascinating from a legal perspective and just watching justice run its course and all of that sort of stuff, but not always opportunities for laughter. At least not, sometimes if we're out in the ante room, we might need to just have a joke and calm down and chill out a bit because things got very intense. But there was a guy, and I found the transcript the other day, and I think I had an idea. I thought I might just start doing lives with just some of the things I've kept. Like, I don't keep a lot of stuff. I'm not really overly sentimental, but I do keep things that are, I think, interesting. And I found the transcript of this guy. So it was a guy called Ian Hutchison who was ultimately convicted of an incredibly brutal murder. But he was the most, what's the word? Entertaining. I don't want to diminish the severity of what he did, but the guy was like, every day in court can be pretty mundane, and this guy comes along and he was so verbally abusive, and the stuff that he called the Chief Justice at the time, Chief Justice King, he called him a fucking wigged judge cunt, just to give you an idea of the sort of stuff that he said. He ended up being handcuffed, manacled and gagged in our courtroom, and he managed to bite a hole in the gag, like they put gaffer tape over his mouth. He managed to bite a hole in it and spit through it at the stenographer, the court reporter. He was something else. But word broke out that we had him in our courtroom, and he was already notorious for calling the Chief Justice a fucking judge wigged cunt. So in our morning session, he was up to his usual misbehaving. By lunchtime, the courtroom was standing room only. Like, it was packed. Everyone just wanted to have an opportunity to witness something a little bit more dramatic and exciting than your usual standard day in court. But yeah, I found the transcript the other day, so I will have to dig it up. And the poor court stenographer in our hearing was so shocked as she's typing up his words that she looked at him and he said, "Keep typing, lady, or you're getting the next bullet." Like, he was, or you're getting the first fucking bullet, I think it might have been. Like, he was out of control. But yeah, it became notorious. So yeah, our courtroom in the morning, just the usual court staff and him and, correctional services and judge and me and the tip staff and, a couple of members of the public, maybe the victim's mum or dad may have been there. By lunchtime, the courtroom was standing room only. Like, everyone just needed to have a day that was just, wow, look what's happening here. This is different. And it certainly was. Hey, some and cheese. I'm still mad I fell asleep and missed all but the last 5 minutes of batshit. Rewatched, but not the same. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So it's better to catch us live. I personally think the you groovers end up in law and crime together. Yeah, the chat in there can be really good. People are curious in there. Yeah, he did. He did. Darrell or Daryl Brooks did provide many "what the fuck are you doing" moments, and made yeah, it was brilliant. I agree. Hannibal Lecter, it wasn't great. They should have put. I think we even said at the time, "Do we have a Hannibal Lecter mask?" Because he managed to chew through the gaffer tape that was across his mouth and spat at the court reporter through it. Like, he behaved very, very badly. And it didn't, there was an overwhelming amount of evidence against him in the first place, but he didn't do himself any favours. So, yeah, but I found the transcript. I think it's the transcript that he actually called the Chief Justice of South Australia. Len King, his name was, Chief Justice King. I think he called him, I think it's that transcript where he called him a cunt. Well, a fucking judge wigged cunt. Keep on typing, lady, or you'll get the first fucking bullet. Yeah, he was He was charming. But, you know, I mean, I was 19, or no, hang on, I could have been 19. I was 21, I was 22, 21, 20 maybe? No, 21 or 22. And I'd seen it all. Like, I really had. If you're an associate to a criminal judge, yeah, you see it all. But that one was next level. Wow. And it's funny, like when I go back to Adelaide and bump into, you know, former colleagues and people that were around at the time, like Ian Hutchison is a name we all still bring up. Like, I don't think anyone ever one-upped Mr. Hutchison. Nowhere, everybody. Someone called him Hutchinson and he lost his shit. Hutchison. He was a Marine. Oh, what was his title? He'd worked on ships. Like, he was rough as guards. But this tiny little dude with very big attitude. Let me just put my powder on. So, yeah, I would really like to chat about the grand jury indictment, but with, you know, people in the chat that are more up to speed. I mean, I have started researching it, and it's pretty interesting. But I just wish the community was more like the good old days where we, you know, we had the facts presented and discussions were very interesting and inspiring at times and confronting at times. And then, you know, a new bit of evidence would come out and then we'd all sort of shift our way of thinking and look at that and how that impacted everything else that we knew already. And, you know, and then these sort of experts would be available to answer questions. And, you know, we just had the thirst for their knowledge and their information just to help us all with the way we looked at it. And, yeah, when it ultimately culminated and went to trial, you felt like you'd researched and worked on this case and would watch it with such intrigue because you'd put so much of your time into it, your spare time into discussing it. And it was sort of, then you got to witness the whole thing play out in court and even just waiting for verdicts, you know, and the cases where you'd be like, oh, this is 100% they're going down, like Alex Murdoch style. Or then you'd have the sort of Laurie Vallow, Letitia Stout, yeah, is this defence going to work for you kind of stuff going on? Or you'd have ones like the judgment I watched live last year in Australia, and we don't get a lot of live court anything, but Chris McDonough, not Chris McDonough, oh my God, I've just gone completely blank. Dawson, God, sorry. Multitasking. Chris Dawson, like the judgment in that trial, and at the start it was like, oh my God, he's going to be acquitted. And then it was like, oh no, this sounds like it's going to be a guilty verdict. And the verdict, and the decision, it wasn't a verdict. The judge, though, his judgment, it went for so long. Like it went all through the morning and into the afternoon. And at the lunch break, I was like, oh, I reckon he's going to walk. And even right before the judge handed down his decision, we were all kind of like, And then he was found guilty, and I was like, happy dance. The biggest happy dance ever, because we'd all followed this case for such a long time and we'd listened to the Teacher's Pet podcast, and then he got charged, and that was so exciting. Like after 40 years, this man had been free, even though he was the prime suspect the whole friggin' time. And it just was exciting. And to see justice like run its course and get it right is exciting. But it's these days, no one wants that kind of, no one has the patience to watch this process inaction. And if there aren't scandalous components, then they'll just blatantly tell everyone they believe there's more to it and it's all scandalous, even though there is absolutely no evidence or no facts. I've needed to finish my makeup, guys, putting on mascara. To support anything that they're postulating. And it's just lost its innocence is a weird word to use, and I don't know if that's the right one, but what true crime used to be like was real life, fascinating stories, horrible stories at times, and then hoping that the course of justice will run as smoothly as possible. And if that person is genuinely innocent, they won't be incarcerated. And if they're guilty as fuck, see you later, throw away the key. I mean, we already know that whatever the verdict is in Kohberger, there are going to be people discussing it for years to come, and there are going to be people disappointed with the decision because, you know, they know more, they know better. All of these lawyers and investigators and cops and forensics and judges all got it wrong because, you know, Betty May in Monticello, Iowa, without any shred of evidence to back her theories or claims, knows better than all of those other people. And it'll be talked about for decades. I mean, we've got the 5-year anniversary of the tragic murder of Shanann Ruchek and her beautiful little girls and unborn baby. And it feels like some channels are only just starting to fire up on that, you know? But I know there's heaps of us out there that really loved the old-fashioned style of being a true crime follower, and we'll keep doing what we do. But, I mean, it's not going to appeal to the newer generation the way I conduct this channel or my criminal cases. I'm fine with that. I want intelligent discourse. I don't want people that make me want to punch a wall just so I can tolerate being near them, even virtually. Right, rant over. Let's talk. Wait a minute, I've just got to redo my top knot. It's a bit loose. This trusty scrunchie of mine is getting a bit long in the tooth. Now it's too tight and I'm going to get a headache. We'll deal with that at the office. All right, so guilty as fuck should be an option. Yeah, like Nicola Bulley, like Kylie Rodney. I mean, that's another thing. Jamin, the next episode of Batshit is next Wednesday again, same time as this week. So Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I love bumping into familiar faces across the board too. Bring back the shock device, exactly. Yeah, and give it to the victims' families. I'm a fan of that idea. Yeah, that bit of graffiti says tuba. I think guilty as fuck should definitely be an option. Just guilty as fuck, Your Honour. Hi, Kylie. Hello, gorgeous. Can you imagine a 70-year-old judge reading out, I find you guilty as fuck? Wouldn't it be awesome though? You're getting coffee. Actually, I might have a sip of mine. But I got in at the same time, even though I had to stop and get petrol. How did that work? Like, I left home the same time as I usually leave home, and I got here. Maybe people are working from home today. I don't know. I don't normally work this Friday, so I mean, not that it would be different to other Fridays, but the one thing of doing 2 3-day weeks in a row means I've now got 2 2-day weeks in a row. Woo-hoo! Although it's not actually something to get excited about because we're so busy that, every day that you're not there, you just know it means the next day is going to be really busy. And yeah, so I don't know what happened to Goat Hair earlier, but Goat Hair left a really interesting comment about grand jury indictments, but then I was really keen to judge of them and they disappeared. A bit like I'm still waiting for the person who put a comment because I was moving old content, criminal content from Tasmania calling over to this channel. One of them was a live I did about Kylie Rodney after the autopsy results came out, and they left this really detailed message about essentially why they don't think that anything we've been told is the true story. And it was a really good read, like it was a good argument, but they didn't give their theory at the end about what they thought happened. So I just said, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to write all of this. It's a really interesting perspective. But I'm really curious, if you've presented all of these reasons why you don't think what we've been fed is the true story, like what do you think did happen? And they never came back. And I was really bummed about it because, this person did actually have a heap of reasons why they believed it wasn't an accident. And a lot of it sounded, there was a lot of it I'd heard before, but, a lot of it was compelling, but without an actual then sort of theory at the end of, well, what do you think all of this means? What do you think actually the truth of the matter is? And I was so excited someone had presented a different way to look at things, and then they didn't come back. Oh, the home repairs. Okay, so what do you reckon this means, guys? Yesterday, I decided, because I hadn't heard anything, I was going to speak to the insurer, just flick them an email and say, hey there, just wondering if there's any updates, because I had the building inspection a few weeks prior, before I even got around to doing that. And I don't want to be crime, rock and royalty. Hello, Joey. Yeah, I've just had my vent. I'm just doing a quick chat about my house stuff before I go into the office. So anyway, I don't like being that nuisance person contacting someone every day, but I'm also a big believer in the squeaky wheel gets fixed first. So I felt like I'd left it a reasonable enough amount of time to check in and just say any updates. But before I got to do that, the guy that did the building inspection a couple of weeks ago rang and he said, I'm just about to submit my report, but I can't remember, how old is your house? And I said, it's 8.5 years old. It'll be 9 in October from when I walked through the door. And he's like, okay, cool. I just wanted to check that. And he said, yeah, I'll be getting the report off. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I don't need to speak to the insurer then because they're waiting for the report. I didn't say that to him, but there's no need for me to contact them. So I was like, okay, well, I guess it's out there now. We'll just wait and see what happens. And I wasn't expecting to hear anything yesterday. Like, the course of insurance runs as slowly sometimes as the course of justice, unless you've got a house that's completely flooded and underwater and you desperately need help. But in terms of triaging my claim is not a priority. Like, I'm not at risk being in the house with the house the way it is right now. So anyway, yesterday afternoon I did a quick sweep of my emails, and there was an email from another from a construction company that said that they'd been allocated to work on the loss at property, and then they had the address, and it was a really long email, and it talked about triaging claims, and if I did have any urgent questions, I could contact them, not a problem, but otherwise they'll be in touch. And it talked about their COVID procedures, and the way it was sort of written, it's kind of looked like it might be an assessment regarding a scope of works without them actually saying that. So, do you guys think that means my claim's been accepted, or do you think that, like, why would an insurance company bother getting a scope of works assessment if they've already got enough information that gives them a reason? Like, if you had enough information that gave you a reason just to deny it, as in it didn't fall under one of the heads of cover under my policy, then that would just be the end of it. They'd be like, look, unfortunately, based on the building inspection report and the plumbing report, this particular issue is excluded in our policy with you, so claim denied, good luck. Or if it's accepted, then you would get another person, because the guy that did my report doesn't build anymore. So if they've read the report and whatever's going on with my house is covered by their policy, then the next step would be to organise a construction company to come and do a scope of works. Would you not think? I'm answering Emily's question, by the way, in case people are wondering why the fuck I'm talking about this with the Bryan Kohberger. And then there was a link to their website in their email. See you, Cement Shoes. Thanks for popping in. Great to see you, mate. And the very first, like when you open up a website, there's usually sort of, the main things that a business, whatever the website's for, does. Well, the very first thing is insurance repairs. But Emily, I'm waiting for you to respond to me talking about my insurance, my house stuff, since you asked. But what do you think? Because I've got to go to work in a sec. Like, to me, it feels like it's heading in the direction of this claim is accepted. But I haven't actually, I heard from this construction company, but I haven't heard from the insurer. So the lawyer in me is wary, that whole don't pop the champagne till there's a sign. Till there's a sign on the dotted line. Like, until you've got a signature, don't open the champagne, essentially. If you're in the middle of negotiating a contract or whatever, even if the negotiations have reached a point that everyone's in agreement, you still don't celebrate till the contract's actually signed. Yeah, I think it sounds promising too, Emily. Where did Joey go? She had a really weird cryptic comment I saw before while I was talking about my insurer. Did she say something like, I can't say what I want, so I'll say nothing. Okay. Don't know what's going on there, but I hope you guys all have a really good day and night, wherever you may be. You just looked it up. The area in an agreement where the work to be performed is described. Sounds like it's a done deal from what I read. Well, I'm going to see what happens today. I'm just assuming the construction people got onto me very quickly to let me know they've been appointed by the insurer. I won't get a chance to call them today. And there's no point me calling the building people because I don't want to say to them, does this make my claims been accepted? Because it's the insurer I need to speak to. I deal with insurers every day at work, so I know how long it takes to get a response. And this email came in very late last night, like I'm talking 4:45 sort of thing. So I'm not sure what you're talking about now. Wake the truck up. Sonny's looking after the house. The area in an agreement where the work to be performed is described. Sounds like it's a done deal from what I read. Yeah, well, anyway, I'm as far as I'm concerned, I think it's positive because it just wouldn't make sense to me if an insurer is going to deny a claim based on a building inspection. They just deny it. They're not going to throw more money at a different group of builders if they've already got enough to deny the claim, they'd just deny it. I mean, I was an insurance lawyer, so yeah, you don't keep throwing money at something when you've already got the answer that you need, which is either accept or deny. And if it's accept, then the ball starts rolling to fix the issue because we're talking about a house with a leak. It's not life-threatening, and it's in a fairly contained area, and the way that my plumber and I have rigged it, it's actually better now what it's doing than what it was doing. We've minimalised the damage for now. Yeah, but that was I was saying, wait the truck up. There's no mention yet of scope of works. It just the way it reads is that that's why they would be coming down. And when you go to their website, the first thing on there is that they do insurance repairs. But I understand the need to get scope of works, but what I was saying was that particular email doesn't mention scope of works. It's just the way I read it. They use the term assessment, not scope of works. But logic tells me that the insurer wouldn't be getting another builder to come and look at the problem based on if the first building inspection basically says this is a problem. They look at what the problem is and then they look at the policy and they go, well, we actually cover that, so we'll be accepting the claim, and now we're going to get someone down to do an assessment, potentially a scope of works. But we're not at that point yet. That's why I was asking if you guys feel that it's a positive step. But anyway, that's what I'm going with because I've got other stuff going on that's not so positive. So the universe has to look after me a little bit, I think. Well, I hope so, because I just paid my monthly premium again to this insurer, and I kind of think the amount of money I've paid to them for my premium over the last 8.5 years probably is more than what it's going to cost to fix this problem. So, get on with it, guys. But it's very exciting. It feels like it's all going to be, I think the universe might be looking out for me on this one, whereas another insurer I'm dealing with, quite the opposite. Nothing worse than being mucked around by an insurer. But at the moment, not the moment, but for the last couple of weeks, I've had to deal with two insurers on two different issues. One might be coming to the party. The other one is being an absolute pain in the cooter. And they are going to get a phone call from me today. Yeah, that's what I think too. Wake the truck up. Thank you so much. Yeah, cross all your toes and your fingers and your nostrils that it's all going to be. I think the universe has to look after me a little bit. Like I've had so much thrown at me in the last few months, and now there's a new spanner in the works, which I don't need. But, we soldier on through each thing. And if Sonny and I have to move out for a little while, I've found a house at the end of the street that's on Airbnb, and it's got a lot of vacant dates over the next few months, and they've got a bring your sleuths policy. Insurers can be terrible. I mean, the insurer I worked for I really enjoyed because it was a no-fault insurer, a bit like the work I do now, because workers' comp, obviously we deal with insurers as well. It's no fault. But when there's a fault component, my God, they will find a way to wriggle out that fine print. Oh, Kylie, I bought, I haven't had major drain issues over my lifetime, but, I've lived in rentals and stuff where we've had issues and called a plumber. I bought a product, and all I can say, because I can't remember the name of it, is the little pot that it's in. It's these little crystals, and it looks like, all I can think from memory is it's very rainbow coloured on the outside, and it's amazing. Like, did what they told me to do. They said if it doesn't fix it completely, then do it again. Didn't need to. It fixed it. So, yeah, go to the Drano section of the supermarket and look for a little tub of crystals that has or did I get it at the hardware shop? But hey, Jen Lee, I'm literally about to hit end. Good to see you, gorgeous. I hope you're well. Much love to you and all the fam. But yeah, Kylie, look for it. It's got like all I can think, hopefully you'll be able to deal with it today, but all I can say is the outside of this tub of crystals was very rainbowy. There were a lot of different colours, but it worked an absolute treat. Yeah, I think the crystals are white, but the pot is rainbow. If I remember it today, if it comes to mind, it probably won't because I know my day is very busy. But if it does, I'll post a picture of it on the community page on the Tasmania Calling channel. Because it'll look really weird on my true crime one. Everyone will be like, is she planning on killing someone with drain cleaner? All right, Groovers, I love you guys. Let's chat over the weekend and chat about the grand jury indictment, which, to be honest, if the reasoning behind it, if part of the reasoning was to keep the online sleuths at bay, I'm all for it. Yeah, it is normal and not sneaky. Absolutely, Jen. Hey, if you're around over the weekend, I want to have a chat so we can just debunk some of the crap that's coming out. Because, Ashley Banfield calling it secretive, now everyone's all suspicious. But one of the lawyers I listened to this morning said in their state, they don't have preliminary hearings. It's always grand jury. So, yeah. I'd love to pick your brains about it a bit more over the weekend. I'll keep an eye out for you. And if you're live or whatever, I'll come and say good day. But yeah, we think alike. Sisters from different misters. Love you, girl. And love everyone else that came in. Also really appreciate Goat Air 33. Come back and say hi again. We're a great channel and you had good stuff to say. I just wanted to, all grand juries are secret. Yeah, but don't tell the sleuths that, because if they haven't got something to be suspicious about, what are they going to do with their day? They're not going to do anything productive like volunteer, help their community out, get a job. Okay, on that note, love you all. And in the meantime, don't get struck by a smooth criminal. Take care.